Hi, good morning, or whatever time you're watching it at. My name is ayan.tikka, and welcome back to my channel. This is probably the first video that I'm gonna be shooting about, when I'm basically talking all throughout it for the most part. And I have recently been wondering about the idea of success and what does it mean. Probably because I just moved into my new hostel. This is my new hostel. It has been less than a week since I moved in. I have not decorated anything. There would have been like multiple posters up here if I would have, but I haven't yet. You can see the walls, they are barren. And I have a single room all to myself, which I really like. I really prefer that with an attached washroom. I don't have a kitchen, but that's okay because I'm not that big on cooking either. And the best part about this room is the view that I have. I think it's about time I read, or rather, reread Room of One's Own by Virginia Woolf. And I have shifted to this college for my master's from a college that I didn't really like. And coming from a middle class background, I would like to shed some light on what it meant to grow up middle class but from an extremely educational family. What I mean by that is that both my parents are in the education sector, both of them are educators. My dad's a professor, my mother is the principal of a school now. She used to be a professor and a teacher, both of them. So, the idea of success that I grew up with personally does circumnavigate around studying a lot, actually. Like, the hobbies that I had growing up, I would not say they are something that I picked up on by myself. For example, I grew up in a very like Bengali household, if that makes sense. Like, I was admitted to dance classes and to singing classes without my knowledge. Not without my knowledge, I don't think that's a good word. I would say without any preference as such. I was just taken to the dance class once, and that's how my dance journey started. Would I say that I inherently hated it? No. But it was also not something that I took a decision for myself with. And I do understand that I was very young. I was like 3 or 4 when I started dancing, and maybe I was like 7 or 8. So decision making capabilities were not like that developed. But I also do acknowledge the fact that there's basically nothing that I've done all my life that has been like a choice or a decision that is solely mine or that's univocally mine. So when I came to this college for masters, it was my decision through and through. And the specialization that I chose, this college, the state, everything was a very personal decision. And it was one of the most nerve wracking things to do. And I realized while doing it that a lot of people don't face this. A lot of people don't have such difficulties taking decisions all their lives. Or, like, they do not fumble at the face of a major decision. And that comes from taking little decisions while growing up and being confident in that decision. I have never made a choice where I have not immediately regretted it later. Like, even if it was beneficial for me in the long run, even if it's something that yielded me a lot of joy, happiness, whatever success means, I couldn't help but feel guilty about making that decision because I grew up with, being conditioned by the fact that if you do not have at least three people agreeing with the decision that you made, which would be like yourself, your father, and your mother, then it's probably not a good decision. It's probably not something that you know it's probably not a decision you should be making. So I think for me the idea of success would be to make decisions for myself without having any pre notions or without having like any remainder of what a human thinks about what would happen in my life or their thoughts, and not feel so guilty about it. Everything that I aspired to be, or everything that I aspired for my environment to be for my masters, this is absolutely like that. It's far away from the city, but not too far away where I cannot have human interaction with the people who dwell in the city. It is lush. The area is lush, dense with greenery. It's very calm, very peaceful. I have not started classes yet, but I'm assuming that it would be great because it's a great, great college. And it's a government college, which also is something that has been, again, coming from an educational background, studying in private schools is looked down upon, right? So I always aspire to come to a government college. I've never studied in a private college, and so it's a government college which is really good. And yeah, I have a washroom to myself. I have said it twice. I don't know why it's important, but it seems important to me, so it must be important. I basically can stock up on snacks and not leave my room for a week without any interruption. Of course, I have like my neighbors or my friends who would care about me, but like if an apocalypse were to hit, I would be fine just living in my room, which is always something that I aspire to have, to be able to live in my room. Again, shout out to Virginia Woolf for planting that seed in my head, and not have a care like about the world around me, because then when I go out, it would be again a decision. It would not be something that is coming out of deliberation, like, okay, you don't have this, you don't have that, you don't have this, you don't have that. That is why you are having to step out. Having to step out is basically like a majboori or like a compulsion. For me now, it would be like a decision, like a choice that I can choose not to step out, but I would choose to step out because I need to interact, I need to socialize. The little things, the littlest of things that seem so trivial on a day to day basis are not as trivial to the people around. That is why I just want to add in the fact that even if you see somebody who is doing extremely well in life, they have no, like, what do I say, apparent troubles. Please choose to be kind to them. Don't, like, in foster feelings of hatred or anger, anguish, agony, whatever it is, towards them, especially jealousy, because you never know what they might be going through. Yeah, that's about it. That was unrelated, but I just wanted to add it. Going back to the topic of like decision making and having a room all to myself and studying in a college, everything. So one must figure out that the environment is quite conducive, right, for whatever I am wanting to become. Trust me when I say this. This is so haunting because for the first time in my life, I'm not in a flight or fight mode. There is nothing that I am aspiring to achieve, not in the near. Of course, I have goals and dreams, but like, there is nothing that I need to achieve immediately, or nothing that I'm yearning for. Nothing is a projection of my immediate past or my reminiscent of my past or like a projection of my future. It is so haunting and it is so lonely to not be in flight or fight, because when you have been in a flight or fight mode all your life, the mere act of survival and being in a flight or fight mode becomes the only long term companion you have. Because when you are living life on survival mode, there are so many things that you sabotage without even knowing. You don't show up to parties because parties is a very misused term. I would say gatherings. You don't show up to, like, people calling you to the place for hanging out. You don't show up to events because you're busy getting your shit together, and they judge you for that, and eventually you lose connections. I would not say that is not natural. That is incredibly natural for somebody to keep inviting you to go out with them or visit them or talk to them, and you keep refusing it because you have something to do or something to look forward to that is more important seemingly than building human connections. That you lose out on a lot of stuff. You do lose out on a lot of stuff, and the worst part is it seems inevitable to you. You actually think that you are misunderstood because those people do not understand where you're coming from. But that is actually a blessing for them, that they do not clock the fact that you are in survival mode, because they have never had to be in survival mode to actually comprehend or grasp the full extent of what being in survival mode means. One needs to be in that mode. At least that's what I believe, to understand the extent of it, at least. And if somebody is not grasping that, that probably means that they are not in flight or fight all the time, unlike you or me. So, yeah, it has been pretty lonely, at least over the week that I've been here. I have spoken to a lot of people, I've had great connections, and I have clocked into the fact that yes, people are not always in their flight or fight, including myself. And that is why I have so much empty space in my brain that I don't know what to do with. And I'm also very, very scared, because what if I start thinking about the things that I have not thought about for too long? The devil will catch up to me if I stop running. Something of that sort. And this is also something that I wanted to shed light upon, is the fact that when you have a pre notion of what you want in your friends, or let's say your partner, or the acquaintances that you'll be making along the way, that pre notion of having a certain type of people who will understand you the most or comprehend you the most comes from the idea of being in flight or fight all your life. You, or rather me, or all of us, we start assuming that the only people who we can build meaningful connections with need to have some sort of like a similar background to us. And that similar background would be having a flight or fight response, or having something traumatic happen to them for them to completely understand. I have seen people, you know, I would like to put in an analogy for the people who read a lot, for the people who write a lot, or for the creatives out there. I have seen a lot of people who wear short clothes, including myself, not judge, let's just say, a particular group of people who choose to cover themselves up. But what has happened to me over time because of being in flight or fight mode is, I believe like I can live a day happily without judging anybody for wearing long sleeved clothes or like covering up more. But then I feel like somebody needs to be equally as less clothed as me to understand the fact that I love wearing short clothes, quote unquote. So I have met people, I have worn short clothes after I've come to the hostel. I wear shorts because, let's just be honest, that's comfortable, or tank tops. I've seen people who wear full sleeves t shirt and track pants not judge me. That is a very weird concept to come along. I know, sounds trivial, sounds petty, whatever you want to call it. It is a very like difficult thing to wrap my head around, the fact that they are not judging me even though they are so different to me. And that is when the entire idea of having a type of people who will understand you just collapses, because I have found understanding from somebody who I believed would never understand me. So now everything is an uncertainty, everything is a haze, everything is a Schrodinger's equation altogether again. Because in a pursuit of being in survival mode and surviving it, I have forgotten that uncertainty is a part of my life, and the feeling of certainty that I had all along was just me trying to make it out alive. It was not necessarily something that meant that the weirdness and the abstractness and the entropy of life has decreased or whatever. And now, as much as I'm thrilled to have new experiences, as much as I am like happy to figure out that there are so many things that, like, this is one thing again, when I have been in flight or fight all my life, and when I have been in survival mode all my life, I think that I know all that is there for me, like out there. I know that this is there and this is not for me, and this is there that is for me. I seemingly have assessed the plethora of options that are in front of me. Seemingly. But then again, when you get out of it, you realize that there are so many things one could be doing. There are so many things that one could be doing differently, even the same things that they have been doing all along. There are so many new things that can happen to one, so many good experiences. It is very difficult to wrap your head around it. And I know it comes from a place of privilege now that I quote it, but it does seem a little weird when it happens to you. But I would say that that's a feeling I've been chasing all my life, to be accustomed to good things happening to me, to be accustomed to the niceties that happen to me. That is why I am so insanely jealous, envious, not in a like harm them way, but like genuinely envious of people who have passion projects. I have a lot of passion projects myself. I do a lot on the side. Not necessarily good at it, but I try to do a lot. But then I am so insanely envious to discover that people have had passion projects all their lives. If somebody who is really good at doing something and they have been doing it because they chose to do it, like one day they woke up and they wanted to play the guitar and they have been playing the guitar ever since and they're good at it, it pisses me so much. Like, what do you mean you made a decision for yourself and you stuck to it and it did not feel weird and now you're good at it? I know. Yeah. I have interacted with people like that in this past 2 3 days. I have spoken to people like that, and I would say I am more than inspired now that I'm not in flight or fight for the time being. I don't know when it kicks in. Best part about survival mode. But like now, when I see or I look at these people or I interact with these people, it inspires me. If somebody writes a poem that moves me, I am inspired to write a poem too. If somebody plays an instrument and is extremely good at it, I want to learn how to play an instrument too. But when I was in survival mode, when I was in flight or fight, which is basically all my life, I was so insanely envious of these people that I would immediately want to find a flaw in them. Like, okay, fine, they are playing the piano well. I bet they suck as a person. I bet they raise up girls by playing the guitar and then leave them because they're a fucking playboy. Projection, okay? Projection of traumas. I am sorry, I'm not the best person out there. I never claimed to be a saint. But like, yeah, when you get out of it, you start appreciating people and the people and the things that are better than you, or so you think, and the things that are and the people who do things that you wanted to do all your life and are good at it, they start moving you, they start inspiring you instead of making you envious. That is also a realization that I've had. So the entire idea of success boils down to, at least for me at this moment, is to be inspired by everything around me and having the courage to do it, knowing that I would suck at it, knowing the fact that there would always be people better than me in everything that I touch or like do or choose to do, and being okay with it. It's very necessary to be okay with it, otherwise, I'll lose my shit. What else? What else do I want to talk about? Because this is my first talkie video, if that's a thing. Yeah, that is what success means to me for now. And now that I've defined success, that does not include fight or flight or survival mode in its definitions, it is also very haunting because it is easier said than done. I've started doing a few things, and again, safe to say, I suck at all of them. I don't know when I'll give up, and when I do, if I do, I'd try to give myself grace. This time, when I fall back into the trenches, it would not be self hatred that pulls me out of it. I would try to make it self love that pulls me out of it. Try to being the key word here. And that is what I feel like everybody should aspire to be. That is such a vague statement because, frankly, nobody should aspire to be whatever I feel like they should aspire to be, but hear me out on this one. I feel like when you fall into the trenches and you have been operating from survival mode and flight or fight responses all your life, we tend to give ourselves a lot of hatred. Like, suppose you're solving a numerical, a math problem, and you're not being able to solve it. Instead of saying, "What is wrong with you? Why are you dumb? Everybody could do it except for you." Just try. Yeah, okay. This is also one thing that I have a problem with, like, the entire self love community. It's like you are not clocking in the fact that there are some, like, things that you lack in or not, you're not good at. I heard this woman say on Instagram, I don't remember her. If I do, I will tag her or like add her video, whatever. But like she said, like, just accept that you're inherently ugly a little bit and move on. It'll liberate you. Just accept the fact that you're not good at math. Not as much as the others. You might be good at something else. You're definitely good at something else, for a matter of fact. You have just not explored it. Because if you don't know what you're good at, and if you don't know what you're bad at, how will you figure out, or like how are you supposed to like navigate life not knowing what you want to do? Or like, finding your ikigai, something that you want to do plus something that you're good at too. Just accept that, yeah, you might be a little dumb. I accepted the fact that I might be a little dumb when it comes to like playing instruments, when it comes to like, playing the piano, because my right hand moves really well, my left hand is not coordinated at all. I accepted the fact that I cannot be as tech savvy as I wanted to become. I have wanted to be become a coder for, like, as long as I can remember. I just can't bring myself to foster any interest towards it, nor can I bring myself to be really good at it. I have accepted that I might not be good at Hindi. I have gotten great marks, which is contrary to what I tell myself, but yeah, I'm not that good at speaking in Hindi. I can speak in the layman language enough to communicate with people, enough to, like, appreciate people speaking flawless Hindi. I have always wanted to speak flawless Hindi because it is something that, like, itches my brain when somebody speaks in Shuddh Hindi. I have agreed, or rather accepted the fact that मेरे से नहीं होगा. I will not be, or rather I'll never be as good as, like, I have wanted to become. I'm not asking anybody to give up here, including myself. But yeah, if I don't clock the fact that there is no absolute end of the Hindi number line, then I will never be able to do better than what I'm doing today. If I am, like, let's say a 5 on 10 in Hindi, I need to clock in that the scale doesn't end in 10. The scale ends, it basically never ends. The scale ends at infinity. I need to clock that in. I need to sit with myself and tell myself, like, it's okay to be a 9 out of infinity. It's still bigger than a 5 out of infinity. I will be better. I'll do better. Just not, like, on a scale that is defined by other people. A scale, you should define your own scale. That is what I'm trying to, like, communicate, I guess. Define a scale and move along that path on your own, at your own pace, with love. Self hatred will not take you anywhere, or me anywhere. I think this video is a reminder for myself. I need to clock that shit and I need to watch this over a few times, if not multiple. Move with grace, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I think there is no conclusion or a punchline to end it with. I'll see you on the other side. I'll probably insert some clips in between to make it more interesting because all of our attention spans are S. I'll see you.